Hello and welcome back to This or That with Kobe and Dash, sponsored by Verizon. We've got the Worlds Edition Part 2 ready to go.
We made it. I even got this sweet new Worlds chair.
Oh,
Secret
I like
Labs
it.
hooking me up, man. Hooking me up. I had to find a place to store the LCS one. In the meantime, though, my apartment is rapidly cluttering up.
It's all right. You can break that one back out when the LCS teams are in finals, you know.
There you go. That's how we'll do it.
Let's get into slide number 1 here, though. More impressive play and performance, Team Liquid or PSG Talon? Now, Team Liquid to me was controlled. They were like a class act for all except for the ITZ game.
Yeah, I was gonna say except for the one game that they should have wrapped up and still managed to throw right at the end of group stage.
My argument for PSG Talon would be that they did it with subs, 3 subs. Now everybody's pointing out that 2 of the subs, mid and jungle, that they brought in were MVP players and actually made the team better. But then, you know, their AD carry sub was a coach who hadn't played professionally in quite a long time. So
like 2 years
is still really impressive.
It's wildly impressive. I'm 100% on the PSG Talon train for this one for exactly that reason. Not only did they have to overcome bringing in three, more than half their roster was a substitute roster, and they still managed to pull it through and make it out of the play-in stage. For Team Liquid, while yes, I agree with you, it was a classy performance, it was an expected performance. We expected them to come out of the play-ins.
North American fans are like, yeah, expected. Everybody else is just flaming the shit out of us.
I don't understand that, man. I felt so vindicated. So vindicated.
You take the high road, James. Don't go slinging stuff back.
That's it. But PSG
took care of business. On to slide number 2.
Impressed. Yeah, let's get to the next one.
Which is more true? Underperformers for Mad Lions or gap closers? I am of the opinion that I think a lot of these play-in teams have risen their level. And people are like, yes, you know, Mad Lions, they did have a bunch of rookies, and, you know, going from online to stage performances is a big thing. I don't consider that like such a big underperformance though. And that kind of goes back to all of the like trash talk that led up to Worlds. I really think it has been a rise of the other regions.
I'm more willing to accept the argument that LGD underperformed because I think we even saw a little bit more of what their standard performance should be here in the best of fives. They double 3-0'd their way out of the best of 5 stage, but groups looked like a totally different team. And in that regard, I'd say yes, LGD underperformed. But I'm with you on the rookie front. That's why I had faith in for example, Team Liquid over Mad, was because there were less rookies. And so I feel like Mad represented very much the experience and the skill level of their players. On the other hand, teams like Unicorns of Love with their creativity, oh my goodness, have they impressed me in a best of 5, and I think are going to be very scary in a best of 1 format. We already talked about teams like PSG, as well as even Legacy, who didn't have the best start to the group stage, but then ramped up and really made it a conversation. I've been impressed by a lot of these teams here in the growing regions.
Yeah, I think for sure. All right, next slide. More worrying trend. Is it the LEC or the LPL? These slides are kind of connected here. You know, and these are obviously referring to, you know, the play-ins performances for them. I wouldn't connect, you know, the performances of these single teams with the overall regions, though. Yeah. So I don't really consider either of them super worrying.
I have a similar hang up where I think it's really hard to pin an entire region's, you know, performance or expectation on a singular team's performance, and based off of the worst team from that region at the international stage, right? Remember, we've only seen the 4th best team from each of these regions play so far. We haven't seen the cream of the crop. And so I think to condemn, like, are you going to say
G2 is
you're
still
worried
be
about
extremely
top
good.
You're not
top
worried about
JDG,
top
they're both still going to be extremely good. So, yeah, I think they're fine. As far as more worrying one, I don't know.
I'd go Europe. If I were going to go more worrying, I would go Europe, because LGD did turn it on near the end, and we saw those inklings of what we expect an LPL team to be able to do, dismantle you in team fights, regardless of objectives or map play. Whereas Mad felt just a little bit more lost, I guess, throughout the playoffs.
I was gonna go LPL by a small margin because I was like, okay, well, in playoffs we already started to see a little bit of this from Mad. When Rogue was able to take them down. So, but again, it's just marginal differences. Next slide. What we got here? Better Ezreal build, Iceborne Gauntlet for kiting, or Trinity Force for more damage. I always go more damage, even though Iceborne Gauntlet is very good. I can't say no, James. It hits harder. What do you want from me? It hits harder.
Hey, man, if the man likes damage, the man likes damage. Give him his Trinity Force. But this is the first one on this episode of This or That here that I'm going to disagree with you. I'm going to go with Iceborne Gauntlet. Maybe that is my own bias of not being a strong AD carry, so I generally go more defensive, build in those mistakes.
Just don't get hit.
Myself. Right. Hey, I can take a whole Zed ult now or whatever. No, I think one thing we have seen in play-ins is we've seen even more recently, a couple of those top laners like Camille come back in where ADCs are getting more targeted and focused. And so I like to see AD carries build a little bit more to give themselves that leniency in team fights. Who knows, when we get to the main stage and you start seeing some of those real top tier ADCs at the helm, maybe I'll flip my opinion and say, now give them the damage because they're so good they don't need the defensives. But I'm gonna go with Iceborne Gauntlet on this one.
All right, next one. Bring this player with you to groups. Jose Diodo.
How do you not go with Jose Diodo?
Or Cacao.
No. It's Jose Diodo.
Cacao was big for Supermassive, but I love me some Jose Diodo. The Evelyn game especially.
Yeah, the dude pops off. It's so fun to say his name. You can't not get excited when he's playing. I love the Graves play. I love the aggression and, again, some of his creativity around the map. Cacao, phenomenal player. But I will admit, to me, felt like one of the underperformers in their series just last night. And so maybe that's part of it. I have a little bit of a sour taste in my mouth for his most recent games at Worlds Play-ins. Whereas Jose, man, I just had a blast watching him. I had a smile on my face every time.
Yeah, definitely. All right, next slide. What we got? More likely pairing to advance from Group C. You gotta choose two.
Oh, God.
Interesting.
Oh, Lord. This is not what
This is the most fun group for me. I feel like this group is going to have some form of tiebreakers.
Yeah.
Tiebreakers is definitely bad for North America, good for Europe. Europe generally wins all their tiebreakers. I think I had the stats. They've only lost two tiebreakers over the course of international.
So let me ask you this. You legitimately think all four teams in this group are capable of getting out? Yeah.
They're capable. I wouldn't put them all at equal footing.
Fair enough.
I actually have Gen G. I think they're better than DRX, the second seed from LCK. So I actually have a pretty high opinion of Gen G. Because I love their bottom lane. I love Ruler and Life as well. I think Life deserves a little bit more credit. This is kind of the group that has a lot of strong bottom lanes, though. And LGDs is going to be the weak one out if you're just looking at the bottom lanes.
See, I'm annoyed because I would have chosen Gen G and TSM. And of course, this slide is screwing us. It's making us choose between the two.
That's the point of the slides. That's the intention, right?
I know.
Honestly, I'm going NA and EU. Let's get out together. You know what?
I'm gonna go
where's the arm thing where we NA and EU?
I don't know. One of these is right. So just I'm gonna go with you. I'm gonna go with that, and I'm gonna double down on that because Spawn yesterday. I think Spawn will enjoy this. Yesterday on the cooldown, Spawn did not have confidence in Gen G. He was one of the few analysts who was like, "I'm not hot on this
that's
team.
where I disagree
Other
with him.
people are hot." Yeah, but you know what? I'm just gonna back my boy Spawn here, and I'm gonna go with TSM Fnatic making it out.
Let's go. Two of the oldest organizations, two of the most famous organizations.
For the storylines.
Yeah, storylines. Okay.
All right, more likely to 6-0. Top or Damwon?
Man, they both, I think, have good chances. Man, they both smashed teams, too. Like, let me see. I think Top has the easier group. Again, like I kind of talked about, DRX for me is pretty risky. So I feel like Top has an easier group, whereas JDG for Damwon Gaming is going to be a more difficult of the second most, powerful. I feel like JDG has a better chance of taking, games off Damwon and even winning that group than DRX has of beating Top.
So that's interesting. See, because I agree with you, but the thing about Group B is I really only see, personally, Damwon and JD as contenders. And so while the question is 6-0, and that does indicate, Damwon might not go 6-0, I actually feel like in Group D, Top could lose to anyone, right?
What
like
you're saying
anyone
is
could lose their best of
FlyQuest
one
are
to
going to
anyone.
win the opening game of Worlds versus Top. That's your prediction.
Look, I didn't say the words, but I also didn't disagree with the words. So I'm just going to put that out into the world. No, so I guess what I would say is, yeah, more likely to 6-0. I'm going to go with Damwon because I just think they have less opportunities to lose. I do agree with you that JD will give them a run for their money and very likely could also top the group. But I don't see Damwon losing to Rogue or PSG. But I could see Top dropping a game to DRX. I could see them dropping a game to FlyQuest. I still think Top will be first in that group. I could also, in all honesty, see Top dropping a game to a Unicorns of Love that comes out and does something wild. So I'm going to go with more likely is Damwon.
Okay, I'm sticking with my Top Esports 6-0. Let's go to the
That's
next
probably
one.
the right answer.
Scarier. Oh, by the way, the fans do go back and tally these up at the end and see who got more of them right, and that's one that can be.
That'll be
Anyway,
the difference maker at the end of
scarier
Worlds.
ticking time bomb. Is it Kassadin or Kale? It's 100% Kassadin. They actually changed Kale. They made Kale less weak in the early game, but also less strong later in the game. You don't get true damage when you get to level 16 anymore with your waves. You still have max stacks, and it's still nice to get to level 16 for Kale, obviously. But Kassadin is way more the ticking time bomb. This thing is, we were watching the LGD game, and you're looking at a 0-0 game, but the Kassadin has over 10 CS per minute, like almost 11 CS per minute, and is crushing this lane, and you're just like, oh my God.
He had like one kill before that dragon fight and then popped off for a quadra, and it was like, well, game's over. As soon as you see that, you know the game is over because a single champion has that much money, that much gold, that much agency. So 100%, I'm with you on Cass. And the thing about Kale can be scarier based on the components around Kale. I think Kale is more reliant on other things. Like I'm actually more scaled.
Combo,
yeah, give me a Kale plus a Twitch. Okay, now the Twitch is scary because there's a Kale. But the Kale itself, to your point, late game, less scary than Cass.
Yeah, for sure. I think this one's no contest after the changes. All right, next slide.
Oh, that's
it. Next slide. We are out of there.
Next slide is Worlds 2020, Kobe.
Time to go record the dive. Thank you for tuning in for this episode. Please tune in for the group stages. They're about to start. We will definitely see you there. James is going to be on cooldown. I'll be casting. Then I'll be joining him on cooldown later.
Boom.
Get it.
We'll see you after groups.